Last week, tertiary institutions in the country were given a grace period of 1 month to disclose all admissions outside the central admission processing system prior to 2017.
Absolutely, Demola. One of the decisions taken by the board, which also raised the alarm over conduct of some tertiary institutions who, it says, admit candidates outside its approved Central Admissions Processing Systems CAPS platform.
JAM says for a while now, these institutions process illegal admissions into the system to accord them legitimacy, but is now insisting that this abused window will now be closed.
And that window, it termed Undisclosed Institutional Illegal Admissions, CUIIA, gave many institutions the platform to admit illegal students, then launder them into the system.
As bizarre as this sounds, completely unregistered students with no registration number gained admissions into tertiary institutions through these platforms.
I've never heard that before in my life. That you could get into the university without registration.
It's common these days. It's common. So,
wow. Well, now JAM says it has to terminate the platform, or it has terminated that platform and is directing tertiary institutions across the country to disclose those illegal admissions or the candidates in their system prior to 2017. And that's from the 1st of August, 2024. So that's the time this will take. Is it the deadline? Or it took
I think it is the deadline.
Deadline.
Yes. And the board says also any other admission given before 2017 will not be recognized or condoned unless disclosed within this 1 month window.
So it also says, that's JAM, that the measure became necessary to curb the current high level of illegal admissions and falsification of records as seen in its fraudulent participation in the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC. Now, these are some of the issues that it says, of course, informed its decision, and that would also form the focus of our program today on Good Morning Nigeria. And I'd like to thank you for joining us very warmly. It's a cold Wednesday morning here in Abuja.
It's a wet day.
It's a wet day. It's a wet morning. And Demola came in here shivering. And, well...
You talk about yourself first.
Let me just keep my mouth shut. I don't want to say anything. I'm Claire Adelabu Abdul Razak. Once again, thank you for joining us.
So you're welcome after a brief stay
well,
out.
Unavoidably. Yes,
Sorry.
Unavoidably absent. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you. I lost my
Yes.
mother-in-law.
Sorry
A
about
very
your
dear
loss.
mother-in-law. But
Anyway, it's good old age. We thank God for all things.
thank you.
Well, I am Ademola Adeoye. We are live on network service of the NTA. Expect the complimentary newspaper review in the course of the program. But that's after we get the news from Olajide Bello. Hello, Olajide. What's in the news?
Good morning, Demola and Claire. We have lots and lots of stories, but just stay tuned. Good morning, Nigerian. Here is the morning news. Joint Security Conference and protesting flag-waving package on holding peace, stability and sovereignty through security topped the agenda at a joint security press conference convened by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, to address pockets of unrest by some protesters and the waving of a foreign flag by some restive youth among them.
We cannot afford to have an experience what we experienced during the last violent EndSARS in 2020. Up till now, many are still in pain, and we cannot allow such a thing to repeat itself.
I will encourage those behind this protest, if indeed they have the goodwill and interest of this country, to take the option of dialogue and let us resolve the challenges and let us move forward.
7 Nigerians have been appointed to head strategic agencies and programs under the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. This is to facilitate the needed relief to Nigerians and ensure the effectiveness of humanitarian and social development programs. The new heads include Dr. Badamasi Lawal, Chief Executive Officer, National Social Investment Program Agency, NSIPA, Mrs. Fumilola Olotu, Program Manager, National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office, Mrs. Aishat Alubankudi, Program Manager, Grant for Vulnerable Groups, Princess Adiremi Adeboale, Program Manager, Homegrown School Feeding, Mr. Abdullahi Al-Hassan, Imam, Program Manager, National Cash Transfer Office, Ayuba Gufwang, Executive Secretary, National Commission for People with Disabilities, Mrs. Lami Binta Damobello, Director General, National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. The President expects the new heads of these critical agencies and programs to discharge the functions of the offices with utmost integrity and diligence to ensure that Nigerians, especially vulnerable groups, are the exclusive and direct beneficiaries of his administration's reconfigured welfare programs. And also, President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of the following Nigerians as Federal Commissioners of the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission: Mrs. Linda Nkechi Oti Abia, Akpan Imo Efyong Akwa Ibom, Enefe Ekene Anambra, Professor Steve Uba Benue, Enyosa Cross River, Harubere Ehaeve Delta, Nduka Henry Awuregu Ebonyi, Victor Eboigbe Edo, Honorable Wumi Ogunlola Ekiti, Honorable Ozo Obureme Obodogo Enugu, Kabir Ibrahim Mashi Katsina, Honorable Adamu Fanda Kano, Kunle Wright Lagos, Mr. Liu Almakura Abdul Kadri Nasarawa, Bako Shatima Niger, Samuel Drojaye Ogun, Nathaniel Adeju Telegon Ogun Ondo, Honorable Saad Bello Ibrahim Plateau, Modu Aji Jiluri Yobe, Bello Rabiu Garba Zamfara, Mohammed Kabir Usman Gombe. The appointments are subject to confirmation by the Senate. The federal government, in collaboration with the International Cotton Advisory Committee, has started the resuscitation of Nigeria's cotton industry with a target to create more than 1.4 million jobs annually in the cotton and textile industry. This was the outcome of a meeting between Vice President Kashim Shettima and a delegation from the International Cotton Advisory Committee led by its Executive Director, Eric Traisenberg, at the Presidential Villa.
New opportunity that is creating a new partnership for us to cross-pollinate ideas with the experts to bring new skills.
Really for us is to look at the entire value chain. There's so many things that we can trap back in this country.
Ahead of the Edo and Ondo governorship elections coming in September and November 2024, INEC has released the final list of voters as the voters' registration exercise ended in the two states. In Edo State, a total of 2,629,025 registered voters will participate in the September governorship election, while 2,053,006 will take part in the November polls in Edo State. A statement by the INEC National Commissioner for Information, Sam Olumekun, says in the next few days, the Commission will release the timetable for the collection of permanent voter cards, PVCs, for the two states for all categories of voters, including new registrants from the last CBR, with voters that applied for transfers, replacements, and uncollected cards from previous registrations. And that's the news at this time. Good morning, Nigeria continues with Ademola and Claire after this commercial break. Do stay with us.